Hey everybody, this is a video I've been having jotted down for months at this point, and I just sort of kept not making it because it felt initially like this was information everybody already had, and then it felt like maybe we're getting towards the end of it and my video would be kind of like a bit on the side of late anyways, and it, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. We'll be lucky to be out of this by Christmas. Um, so yeah, I figured I'd put together this little video anyways, and if it's late, then it's late, and if it's inconsequential, I don't know, and if it ultimately feels like I'm having absolutely no impact whatsoever and nothing is going to change and we're also going to live with this for the rest of time, then so be it, but at least I'll have tried, and that's an important step in this current situation. Let's talk masks. Now, masks have achieved a semi-controversial situation, in that there's a bunch of people who are spreading blatant misinformation, who are just touting conspiracy theories and all sorts, saying that the masks are irrelevant, that the masks don't do anything, that the masks cause all manner of health complaints, and frankly, all of that is complete nonsense, but just in case for that, I have actually dug up the research on this, and chiefly, a lot of the best information you can find on this is coming out of The Lancet, and there's been multiple studies of disease transmission in regards to masks over time, but in regards to the specific current disease, The Lancet has a recent study that will be linked down below that actually discusses specifically mask transmission versus actual COVID-19. Now, there's also a vast array of very similar graphics going around saying nobody wears masks, it's a 90% chance of transmission, down to both people wear a mask, it's 1.5%. And these numbers seem to be accurate, but I can't find an exact source for them, so I'm not going to necessarily tout those here, but I can say very distinctly that wearing masks, especially on a societal level, will drastically curb what is happening right now. It's just a matter of getting everybody to actually do it, and this should also not be considered to be a replacement for social distancing. You should also absolutely take that in part, but today I'm talking about masks. Viral spread statistics show that there is a direct correlation of transmission reduction with wearing of a masks. We can see that actively in other countries that have made masks a very commonplace thing. Japan, for instance, mask wearing when you're sick, or there's like an illness going around, it's just a standard like cultural thing, and they have been doing very well. More than anything, however, they reduce the chances of catching the virus yourself, but more so they protect others from you. The graphic I mentioned earlier, for instance, purports, again, I can't say with certainty that these numbers are accurate, but it purports that there is a 70% chance of transmission when the healthy person is interacting with a COVID-19 carrier, but they are wearing a mask, versus a 5% when the COVID-19 carrier is wearing a mask, but the healthy person isn't. Now, again, I really have to stress I don't have a source on those numbers, but they're extremely popular and prevalent, and I'm presuming they're coming from somewhere, and they seem to follow largely along with the actual research. So for the moment, I'm calling those trustworthy but unverified. And on to how you actually make these masks. Now, naturally, being this deep into a global pandemic, there is a large number of retailers that are now putting out their own custom versions and models and displays and whatnot of masks. You can get those very easily on Amazon, online, all manner of things. A simple bandana or even just a scarf, a homemade mask of such a thing is something. It's obviously not going to be up to medical grade, but right now we ideally need to be reserving the medical grade masks for health officials and such, the people who actually need to have this on a daily basis. And even then, honestly, if you want the absolute top grade of thing, besides just staying home, you're actually looking for a full-blown face shield, not really a mask. Ideally a mask and a face shield. In fact, I mean, all other things, but that's going into straight-up pandemic kind of issues. But for the homeowner, as it were, for the person at home and whatnot, the two major styles of mask are as follows. You have the face-fitting, and you have the rectangle. Now, this is sort of the kind that you see on all of the medical journals and whatnot, all of the like favorite hospital TV shows and such. It's just a simple rectangular shape that fits over the mouth, chin, and nose. You must wear it over the mouth, chin, and nose, just by the by, because that is where the bulk of that steel comes from. The face fitting is very similar, but you can see it has a slight pyramidal top to it, and that allows it to fit a bit clearer across your actual facial structure. I don't know how my microphone's coming across on this, but oh boy. And there's pros and cons to these. So the face fitting is a tighter fit, which means it will actually contain any potential particles of disease that might be trying to slip out. They're fairly large on the scale of like molecules, but not like actually that's big. Not actually that like easy to contain too much. Point of note, one of the common things I've seen is that wearing a mask will cause you to suffer a lack of oxygen, despite the fact that the virus is about 30 times bigger. Just point that out. But yeah, this makes, nonetheless, the Better Seal is better for people who wear glasses, so for lads, but it is a bit more difficult to make yourself. This is literally the first one I made. It's a bit undersized. I'm not shipping these to anybody, these is just for me, so it's kind of fine. And then the rectangle is the one you're more likely to actually see around. This is, the various forms of these are easily available. They are extremely easy to come by, and very simple to make and whatnot. Easy to home sew as well, but they're not as tight a fit. They don't fit quite as close to your face because they're not actually, of course, shaped to a face. The CDC guidelines, regardless of their style, requires a 3-layer model. That is to say that you need an external layer, which is ideally some degree of waterproof. You need an internal filtration layer, and that can be just an actual N95 filter. Those are accessible. Personally, I'm avoiding getting those because, again, they should be things that the actual people dealing with the plague should have access to more than me, and I can manage in the meantime. And then an actual inner layer, which is absorbent, so that anything coming out of you stays with the mask, and anything that's coming out of somebody else stays on the outside of the mask, which is where you want it to stay. That's the major style of those. And with regards to just how you actually affix these things, here we have some very, very nice elastic, which I don't have any elastic, so this one, it was made by my mother, and it is not something I can replicate. So my other ones are actually just using twine, which is fine. It's sufficient, and you really should only be wearing these for like an hour or two tops. And that's if you're wearing them the entire time that you go grocery shopping and such. If you're just wearing them for like the 30 minutes you pop out to the corner store, then even better. Now, a couple of design notes to make. I have a third one here, and this one was completely winged. I had no reference for this. I wanted to see if I could make a mask from scratch without having to follow something, more as a test of my actual like sewing ability than anything else. And I do have a whole bunch of video for that, so enjoy this little time lapse of me flailing at a piece of fabric. So the end result, of course, was this, and this is once again just using twine on the edges to wrap around the ears, and it works, it is effective, it is breathable, it is chiefly made from some extremely old pajamas that I naturally do not wear at all anymore, but it is fitting, it is efficient, and it is effective. It is obviously not remotely near medical grade, and I cannot share your pattern, partially because I don't have one, but partially because I cannot vouch for this being effective, and as such, but you can find the patterns for things like this and things like this readily available online. They're not hard to come by. Few things I can say with regards to like just wearing these, because I have been wearing these religiously when I leave the house during this whole ordeal, as well as latex gloves when I get my hands on them, literally. And if you're having trouble with them fitting over your nose, and then that just creates sort of two vents that go straight into your glasses, for instance, I feel your pain, I know that. There's a very simple solution to that, which is on the back here. We can see this little rectangular section of fabric here. If you make that with just the bottom layer sealed and then the upper half open like that, with sealings along the outer edges, then literally you can just stick a pipe cleaner into that, just fold that to your nose, stick it in there, and give it a little pinch before you go out, and it will fit much tighter to your face, and it will be much better for keeping your eyes and keeping your glasses from fogging and going blind, which in the middle of a pandemic is kind of a concern. But yeah, these are really easy to come by, and I cannot stress enough how vital they are going to be towards getting back to anything even remotely resembling normality. There's a bigger question of whether or not we should be trying to go back to what we previously had instead of trying to forge something that's better, and we absolutely should, but to get to either of those outcomes, we need to survive this one. So, stay home, wash your hands, and please, wear a mask.
Wait. Stop. Do you hear that? That creeping, crawling noise. That dripping like the sound of blood spilling from an open wound. It's the sound of my Patreon, and if you want to outrun whatever is making that noise, as well as grab some fun benefits, head over to patreon.com/lying.